Hey everyone, welcome to Served. We have a great show for you today. Not a lot of people walking around Earth that walk into any Grand Slam and go, you know what? I've won here before. We have one of them this week on the show. 5-time Grand Slam winner, has won all of them at least once. Maria Sharapova going to join the show today, which I'm very, very excited about. But on the other side of this, we're going to try something new on the front side of this with our homie, John Wertheim. Basically, we're getting, as the show comes in, there's a lot to cover, and there's a lot we want to give attention to that we can't always get to in a big show, in a long-format interview. We're not going to interrupt a Maria Sharapova interview to give you thoughts on the renovation in Cincinnati. It doesn't work in the flow of the show, but we do want to kind of tip the cap, give our opinions, be up to date on all things in tennis. So we're going to try a segment called Winners and Heirs, where JW gives us all the goings on and shares some of his inbound with what's who's doing what, where, why, and when in tennis. So Winners and Heirs.
We need theme music. That'll be our next phase. There you go. Yeah. So some of this is that was well said. Some of this is just a direct ripoff of our brethren at Vox, Kara Switzer and Scott Galloway's wins and fails. But this is a good way to sort of get some of these items. Some of them are big and sweeping. Other are just sort of these things that sometimes fall between the cracks, but probably deserve some mention. So I don't know, maybe we'll try to keep these for like 1 minute each. These are just quick riffs. If I were going to do one winner today, even with Cincinnati underway, I still think the story of the week that we maybe not even gave full measure to is Victoria Mboko. This was just such a breakthrough. Not just winning her home event, not just winning in Canada, not just beating 4 former major winners. To me, it was just the poise, right? I mean, this is not someone who went and blasted 20 aces a match or just played this absolute level of power tennis that no one could keep up with it. This was a mental win as much as anything. And I think ask the Brits at Wimbledon how hard it can be to play in front of your home crowd. And I just think with a few days detachment, this still is just an extraordinary story. So good to Victoria Mboko. Let's pivot to Cincinnati. You mentioned this already, Andy, but these Cincinnati upgrades are really extraordinary. And keep in mind, this was done in less than a year. So fewer than 365 days. And now we've completely, we've revitalized the grounds. There are now 10 more courts. The players have been gushing about it. But you know what? I think just as important, so have the fans. And I think we forget sometimes, you know, there's no longer a tournament in Chicago. There's no tournament in Memphis anymore. There's no tournament in Atlanta. And my mother country, Indianapolis, used to have a long-running tournament. No more. So Cincinnati's really become this sort of tribal regional tournament. You can see it from the license plates in the parking lot. So if somebody joked sort of, hey, Larry Ellison and Ben Navarro now are in some kind of contest to see who can have the biggest tournament.
Great.
Yep.
Great.
Right?
Perfect.
Right?
What's wrong with that? Well, how does tennis not benefit from that?
Exactly. In a world where there is so much managing decline, if people want to invest and say, hey, there are fewer American events than ever, but the ones that are here, we're going to make them extravaganzas. Great, knock yourself out.
Don't forget, Ari Emanuel is in the mix on that now too with Miami.
Go for it.
For the American events, and now that you see Ellison and UFC partnering up in Paramount, there's a shorter line between all these events.
Did we ever? We never got to your tinfoil hat episode, did we?
No,
Mike.
No.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
Well,
man, I may have to recuse myself.
You have to recuse yourself.
Yeah, I may have to recuse myself now. No, but I mean, we can get into that another point. But you have these billionaire heavy hitters and these these media companies now. You know what? If they want to park their money in tennis and upgrade facilities, let's welcome them. I don't see a lot of downside to that. Gensler, by the way, I feel like we need to give a shout out to the Cincinnati architecture firm, the design firm that did this in such a short amount of time. If they want to help with any Manhattan renovations, there are a lot of people I know who could use a contractor that worked that efficiently. Let's give a shout out. Speaking of Cincinnati, did you guys catch this item with Francis in Cincinnati, where he was shadowed by a young player who? Russell Loco, who's going to be he's going to rising junior at the University of Louisville, plays tennis there, and he came through one of these, the NGTAL came through one of these grassroots programs in Trenton, New Jersey, much as Francis did in Washington D.C. And Francis just casually gave him not just a day and a hit in Cincinnati, but also $30,000 from the Francis Tiafoe Fund. from the endowment. This was with in conjunction with the USTA Foundation, and now young Russell Lucko at University of Louisville doesn't have to worry about graduating with any debt. Francis is one of these guys. It's sort of Francis is a great guy. It's become kind of a tennis slogan. Usually he's fun and he daps you up in the locker room and he photobombs you. There are also substantive ways in which Francis is so well liked. This is one of them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, John, because a lot of people can be likable. They can be friendly. When things are going well, they can emote in a certain way to bring people in. But I'm glad you're bringing light to this story because Francis does a lot of really great things through his foundation in conjunction with other foundations. So it's easy to kind of smile and be, Francis when the lights are on. But it's nice that this goes on, on the other side of fame as well.
It is a complete cliche to say, he didn't forget where he came from.
He didn't.
This is one case where it completely rings true. Good on you, Francis. All right, should we quit while we're ahead, or should we do errors?
Errors.
All right, good.
Yeah, you can't call winners and errors without the errors.
We gotta level out the stat sheet here.
Wait. Sorry, maybe I'm confused. Did we announce? You guys told me 3 seconds before we went on. The segment's called Winners and Errors. Was that wrong? Is it just winners?
Such a good positive energy. We just toasted large and small.
Yeah, you got toast.
Burn it down.
I do think we need to talk a bit about this summer scheduling, and we joke about it, and it's a lot of Marriott points and ha. I think. You say this a lot, and I think it's a really good point. Saying this is how we've always done it is generally not a great way to defend process. That said, we also should be able to admit when there's a mistake. And these scattered, overlapping, sort of elongated Masters events when players who won Wimbledon don't feel like there's enough recovery time, players who won the singles title in Montreal don't have it in them to then go to Cincinnati. We've got Tuesday quarterfinals. The fans are confused. It's ending on a Monday. Like at some point, I don't know. I mean, I have kids. Friends of my kids go to college. It's not a great fit. They transfer. HBO is no longer Max. They've done something about it. Like experimentation, that's great. Innovation is great, but I think we also need to admit when we need to go back to the old way. And these events are just not working.
Well, yeah. I mean. Listen, you have people who have, Mboko won last week. She would have had 3 or 4 days off. What are you solving if not to create more space for momentum and for people that have played well to play more? Like, what have we solved for in that case? Like, and I'm a little torn because it's like, I'm in this very, very, very unique sliver of a scenario. I can look at it and say, no, I played it. I won 12 times in 13 days. And it was possible. And I felt good, and I would take the confidence, and there's a week in between before the U.S. Open. Here's my thing. Canada, Cincinnati, the 3-week deal. We're not going to throw a parade because you added a week to the calendar, and you're just less shitty than the European Masters 1000s that take up a full calendar month. Now, if we can set precedent with this 3-week situation and apply it to all of them, right? Now, all of a sudden, we're gaining weeks back. If Madrid and Rome are 3 weeks between them, if Indian Wells and Miami are 3 weeks between them, I don't know that I cared about. I wasn't bothered by watching a final that wasn't on a Sunday, right, and competing with the rest of the sports itinerary. So I hate the 3-week thing way less than I thought I would. And also, very simply, if I'm commissioner of tennis for a day, my number one thing would be, all right, it's November 1st. Or November 3rd, whatever, first week of November, we're done playing. Now, how we fit that jigsaw puzzle together from there, I'm sure we'll have differing opinions. But if I was commissioner for a day, that would be my non-negotiable. I would run a ton of 250s in November for the people that want to gain points, want to gain prize money, want the opportunity, want to get into certain tournaments, on the 6-week delay. That's all fine. That is none of the top players in the world, right? And they've already played the most and generated the most revenue for the tour. They need a fucking break somewhere, simply.
You talk about former Canada winners like yourself. Daniil Medvedev, one of them. But that wasn't recently because he has not won a tournament in more than 2 years. He just lost to Adam Walton in Cincinnati, and it did not even feel like that much of an upset. He's outside the top 10. He's played 6 hardcourt matches in the U.S. since Wimbledon and gone 3-3, and just this does not look like a career with much momentum. He's such a good player. He's such a fun player. He's such a likable personality to have in the chorus. It just seems as though the wheels have really come off. Thoughts?
Yeah, there's no way around results, right? We can explain away circumstances. We can tell you, and I love to tell you, why it's hard, why it's not as simple as everyone's making it out to be, and it's just not the same package of results that we're used to from Daniil Medvedev. I think wildly underappreciated. In if we kind of zoom in and then look back, number one in the world, Grand Slam winner, a lot of Grand Slam finals, Masters 1000 winner, like this guy in an era where it's a crossover between starting with Rafa, Roger, Novak, and then getting through the primes of Alcaraz, and maybe not the primes yet, but like the start of prime Alcaraz and Sinner. So 1, tip my cap. 2, he's absolutely searching for something. And when you have the game that is that cat and mouse, right, that is reliant on going to work, there are no easy solutions for Daniil Medvedev. Is he someone that's all of a sudden going to start serving and volleying? No, right? Is he someone that needs to extend points and take someone's legs out and has that process when he's at his best? Absolutely. So I'm not sure what the quick fix is. Now we're at an inflection point. Is this the new normal, or are we just dealing with an episode of confidence, maybe some adjustments? We don't know. Bet against the greats at your own peril. So the biggest point I want to make, serially underappreciated for what he's accomplished and what he's done in the game. And number 2, you're right, absolutely searching for something right now.
The big punchline of him is he's won 20 titles and he hasn't won the same title twice. And you want to say, wait a second, A, 20 is a pretty big number. And B, doesn't the fact that he hasn't ever defended a title is another way to look at that, man, this is a versatile player who's done a lot of winning in a lot of different places.
Yeah. I'll just say that we can get the stats on this and maybe just run it below. I don't know if we're that fancy on this podcast now, but people who have been number one in the world, people who have won a slam, and people who have won 20 plus titles, it's going to be a short list. He's on it. On the other side of the break, the legend, Maria Sharapova. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, welcome back to Served. As promised, 5-time Grand Slam winner. It's got to be the coolest feeling in the world to walk into any Grand Slam venue and say, you know what, I've won here. Not something that I can entirely relate to, but 5-time Slam winner, 2025 Hall of Fame inductee to be Maria Sharapova is on Served. What is up, Maria?
I'm so happy to be here. I haven't done an interview in a while, so what you get is what you get. I apologize in advance.
Yeah, we're not worried about you after seeing a couple of decades of you handling interviews. Okay, so what's the program now? I mean, we're going to get into all of the things and all of your successes, but I know from being a parent myself that you can be whatever you have been as a sports person, as a celebrity, all of these things, and then you revert back to humble pie when a kid is brought in. So are we Theo? Are we Theodore? Are we Teddy? What's give us the lay low. Three years old.
Depends on the mood. It's Theo. So we chose a name that would sound similar in both languages.
That's cool.
So I use Theodore when it's like let's get this shit done, because I don't have an extra minute of mental capacity, not physical, mental. And it's Theo every time else. And yeah, it's such a, I mean, you have 2, right?
2. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, every week is a testament to, I mean, I think it adds another year to your life. It's the biggest blessing, but also it's really the toughest challenge that I think parents face on a daily basis. I mean, I've got this huge truck next to me. Do you hear that thing?
Oh, there you go. Oh,
okay.
The old truck. I know, but that buys you a lot of sanity.
Just in case he runs in, I have props. I have mismatching socks. I'm so glad this is not behind my camera.
We're gonna get to your business life here at the end of it, but like I think the next thing that you could probably solve for in your genius empire is losing socks. No one's ever solved for it, and yet it's still a problem here.
The thing is, I know that they're there somewhere in the closet, but after the first year, once you're like, oh, these little shorts are so sweet, you're like, I don't really care what he wears anymore. Because first of all, you don't have a say.
Yeah.
Right. At one point, they just control what they wear, what they want to eat. I mean, I've lived 3 lives till this interview this morning. Like the oatmeal wasn't the right temperature. Yeah. But it is what it is.
So what was it too cold or was it too?
It was a little too warm.
It was too warm. Okay. So little ice cube solution maybe?
So we had to bring it. Well, that's very American of you.
Okay. Thank you.
We don't. Yep. Never done that one before.
Okay. Moving on. But talk us through, because like your Saturdays used to exist with like trying to make trophies, right? And now are we doing Paw Patrol? Are we wearing out the Zoo Pass? Like, talk about the transition kind of into motherhood. And when you look back at your former life, does it just seem like a different human?
Well, Saturday, it's funny you bring that up. Saturdays was like when someone asked me, what is your favorite day of the week? Saturday was my favorite day of the week because that's a Grand Slam final. That's where I wanted to be. And now when Saturday comes along and you're like, where's my nanny?
No school. School's out. No camp.
There's no school. There's no nanny. You're like, I don't know if Saturday's my favorite day. A typical Saturday, I mean, it all kind of depends. We travel quite a bit. So our life, I mean, Alexander's family's in the UK. So we spend a lot of time in Europe. In the States, it's all, in California, it's the farmer's market. We like to cook. We're homebodies. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's super exciting, but it's very family oriented. And we're a very small family. So it's very nice to, also see your son grow up in an incredibly privileged circumstances, but also try to adapt to the lessons that I grew up with, right? That nothing is easy, nothing comes easy, that you have to work for many things. And I don't know at what age that starts, right? Because he's my first child, but I definitely, there are lessons throughout the day where I'm like, just watch him, look at him, lean into what he's interested in and what are his interests, which still have no freaking clue what they are.
Yeah, and then it'll be super into something. It'll be the most important thing on earth. And then 2 months later, it's like, get rid of all the dinosaur figurines because fuck the dinosaurs.
That's how I feel. Yeah. And I was like, he must be athletic. I'm like, probably nope. He's more like my husband.
Yeah. Oh, shots fired. Like it. Like where that's going. So
we have a long interview to go.
There'll be many shots taken.
I mean,
I'm
before
sure.
we get too far, there's a really funny story that I wanted to start with. We've gone like 10 minutes into this interview.
I feel like this is going to go well for me.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you remember this moment, but I was probably about 19 or 20 years old. And it was the first time that this was Paris. I'm setting context here. Place Vendôme.
Mm-hmm.
I was staying at the Park Hyatt for the very first time. You were staying at that hotel. Mm-hmm. And because I didn't know the area, I had said, hey, Andy, you've been here before. Can you give me a few restaurant recommendations for dinner? And he's like, oh, yeah, no, absolutely. There's one around the corner. It's called Hotel Coast. And I was like, oh, great. So, it's my dad and, a few of my male team members, my trainer, coach and physical therapist and, 4 boys and me. And so we walk into it's a hotel and it's meant to be a trendy hotel. I didn't know it at the time. And we walk in and they sat us down and every server, looks like they're from Moulin Rouge. And I was like, this guy must be shitting me. He purposely took me as a 19-year-old to this. It looked like a show, like really short skirts and a lot of cleavage. And my team was like, Andy.
So I don't know.
Andy is the best.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know what I did? I stood up and I walked out. Because I thought you were pulling a trick on me.
No, I wouldn't do that.
And then everyone was telling me, "Oh no, this is the hip place to eat." And I was like, "Of course, Andy Roddick goes to the hip place to eat."
No, listen, I don't know what kind of room you and your team requested there. every meal I've ever had there was respectable. The food was great. Nice little music, dim lighting. We all look fine. It doesn't look like we're eating at a home.
Really short.
I don't even remember. That's not what I would. That's not something I ever noticed.
Okay, let's not be politically. This podcast is not politically correct.
It is not.
So let's not start now.
It's not. Okay, that sounds like something I might have done. I'm not going to fully deny it.
Yeah, you definitely did.
Oh, all right. Well, bad recommendation.
My team still appreciates it till this day.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm sorry. Like, if there's 4 dudes and you, I was thinking about the majority. Is that wrong?
Nope, absolutely right.
Okay, we were fine. Yuri was fine. He was good with it. We were all good.
He's definitely good with it.
So I want to get to this because back before anyone listened to our show, someone you're very close to and has been an integral part of your career, Max Eisenbud came on. And
you really didn't have many viewers.
We had nobody. We were desperate times, desperate measures. It's gotten better, but
he's a great interview.
Fantastic.
Because he says it like it is.
Totally. It's my favorite. And you fall into this category. It's the best interviews are the people that don't need the job, right? They're the people that have been successful enough to just tell you exactly how it is. But he went through your story, and I'm wondering. I don't know if it gets told enough or if people actually grasp kind of the craziness of you're 7 years old, your father Yuri, who I always loved. I thought, like, I think one of the best kept secrets in tennis is what a great sense of humor your father has, because he seems so like intense when he's watching you.
It was very mutual.
Yeah. So your journey over here when you're 7, now that you're a mother and you understand like sacrifices made and you understand that you're basically just trying to play a lottery ticket, right? And you come over, and I heard the rumor is that you were at some clinic with Martina and she said you need to go here. Is that an accurate story? Is that an accurate representation of events?
Oh, yeah. Yep. All accurate. 100%.
Okay. So one, imagine yourself now being at a tennis clinic and seeing a 6-year-old and going, you know what you should do? I know we just met, but you should move to the other side of Earth to do this thing. Like, everything about your story and showing up with, a couple $100 in your pocket. I'm sure you don't realize that that's nuts when you're 7 and it ends up working out. So therefore it's less nuts, but talk about kind of the swing that was taken by your parents, your father, and making that move. And as you're kind of seeing it in the rear view, and now we're a parent, does that even hold more water than it did even then?
I'd start with, I think people that have the guts to do crazy things have to be a little stupid and a little silly to take those chances. And I believe that till this day. I don't think you're all the way with it when you're making such big decisions in life. But then on the other side of it, I think one of the greatest gifts that my father provided me and my family was that we had everything we needed where we came from. And so, like, plan B was okay. Like, success wasn't our only, wasn't his only plan, or wasn't my parents' plan. If it didn't work out, like, we could go back to a lifestyle that, where we had a roof over our head. I think everyone paints like a Cinderella story. And I know how it looks on the other side, because for every one person that makes it, there's, hundreds of kids that don't make it, and those stories are untold. But the greatest gift he gave me was making sure that you just wake up and you commit, you do what you have to, and, you have a good week of training, and that good week turns into a month, and that month turns into a year. And with a little bit of luck and good people around you, great things happen. And that was always his mentality. It's his mentality, like, till today. I mean, I just spoke with him this morning, and I have this deal going on, and like a business venture, and I was telling him about it because he loves to be in the loop. Mm-hmm. He's always like, "What's the scoop?" I'm like, "Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you what the scoop is." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, if I should lean into it more, if I should invest more into it." And he's like, I don't know if they're going to take advantage of the fact that I'm, putting in so much money behind it. And he's like, "Listen, things are going to happen as they happen. You have to give your best. You have to be honest, be realistic, but things will unfold. And that was always his mentality. It was never like above anyone or below anyone. It's like, you have what you have, whether you have a small house or a big house. We all face the same problems, the same issues. We have health concerns, we have family problems. Everyone, no person's issue is smaller or larger than yours. It's just how you handle it. So I think that was an incredibly positive gift, and I still feel that I benefit from it.
I think, and this is just projection, but I think you come along, you win Wimbledon, your intensity on court presents a certain way at the time. Your father's intensity around work presents a certain way. And this is in the vacuum of maybe some tennis parent relationships that weren't exactly healthy at the time. And so I think we were almost looping everyone into this scenario. But a story that doesn't get told enough, and Max shared it with us, when he provides every opportunity, right? You never lose the personal relationship. And then at some point he goes, you know what? It's on her now, right? This is her life to live. You never ever see. He was the first one of that mold who was like, you know what? This is a good time to walk away. And I feel like that gets ignored.
And by the way,
and it
you're
really
walking
shouldn't be.
away. Yeah, and you're walking away from a lot. You're walking away from money. You're walking away from the scene. And by the way, the scene is a huge part of it. The team members and coaches, and I mean, you know what it's like, and it's grown even more now. I mean, the player lounge now. I mean, a player has. Their boxes are not. Their player boxes is not enough to field everyone that they want to invite, right? So, I mean, player lounges are full of consultants and creative directors and behind the scene videographers. I mean, you're laughing because you probably know it's true. But I didn't think that was not, when I went to the court, the only people I needed were the people that were going to help me win. Like when there's definitely a few times where, you're at the US Open and, someone brings like a coach or a physio, wants to bring their whole family on the court. And right away, I mean, my mind goes, is that a distraction, right? Is all their focus on making you be the best player in the world? And I was honest enough with them to have that conversation that when we come to court, like, you are making me a better player. That's what I hired you for. And when we leave the court, I don't care what you do, right? I don't care how many people you have around you with you. But when I was there, like, everyone has served a purpose. Like, that was my mission.
How do you have ownership over that at such a young age, though? Like, that's something that's normally learned, right? I mean, you seem to have a decent amount of control of your orbit pretty early on, which I think is the exception, not the rule.
Well, I think you realize pretty quickly, and there's been a few examples of that in the last few years, is winning one event, winning two events, getting to top 10 in the world. I mean, if you've been dedicating your entire life to the sport, that's not big enough of a goal. It wasn't big enough for me. And I felt that anyone that would ask me to do something that was beyond, that would make me tired, for example, or, I mean, every morning, I'd wake up and I'd my physio would check my HRV, right? Heart rate variation, as like a step, like, how do you gauge your day? How do you train? Do you, is your intensity high today? Is it lower? And every time I did a sponsor, visit or a meet and greet, or even an autograph session, there's so much, that connection and that interaction with people. I mean, it's an incredible 30, 45 minutes, but it zaps your energy. And I was very well aware of it because I was very sensitive to, I got sick every other day. I was like, my immunity was always low. So I had to be so mindful and careful of how I dedicate my free time. And I learned that lesson, like, from a very early age.
I'm going to jump because I wanted to start going through kind of specific tournaments, but I have written down here below that something I think you were great at unapologetically early in your career, and Max confirms is you had the power of no and you understood when to use it. So most players who have the visibility that you had, who had the stardom that you had, who had the responsibilities to endorsers and took all of that on, sometimes you felt like you were playing on their turf. You were really good at the power of no. I think Roger was great at the power of no at a certain time. I think a lot of the greats get to that where if this doesn't serve me, then it also doesn't serve the brand. Is that something that was kind of innate, or was it something learned, or both? It was just specifically for you. There was never the conversation of, oh yes, she has all the endorsements, but she's not committed to tennis. That conversation didn't exist, and that's strange.
I think because I realized that if I didn't back up my success at winning my first major, or continue being in the top 5 or in the top 3 or number 1 in the world, I wouldn't have opportunities off the court. I mean, that's the reality. The reality is, I mean, listen, if you're a Nike athlete and you're not top 10 in the world, you're not making any money. That's, maybe you are with other brands, but not with a brand like Nike. And if you want Nike to lean into your brand and focus on, on everything that you have to offer besides your forehands and backhands, and tell your story, you better perform. So when I woke up in the morning, I mean, not that it's the first thing I thought about, but there's no doubt that I was very realistic about, yes, I have a chance to have a platform, and that I have a voice, and that I can go from playing a Grand Slam final into a boardroom and have something to say. But I need to earn that. And the only way I earn it is by being a champion.
It sounds simple enough. I mean, Mike's listening and nodding. Mike, you can't even break fucking 100 in golf.
It depends on the course, but no.
No, you need a putt-putt
Listen,
course,
Mike has
maybe.
a great
But I have the
background.
mind of a champion.
I mean, you have a champion background. It's all very neat. I mean, you've definitely focused on it.
Thank you. I mean, the things I can't control in life.
I mean, I got to be honest here, just real quick, and this is an aside, but Mike has that great background. I'm still stuck in a garage. Mike, what gives? Like, why are you in the cushy spot?
I mean, Mike got an upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got a promotion.
I know. I'm just happy the internet works in your garage.
So yeah, me too. I know
you guys wanted to send me all the Meredith from my team was like, oh, look, could we send some microphones over to you? I was like, listen, I can barely get Zoom to turn on. Okay. So the fact that we're actually on this thing is a miracle.
Well, to be fair, we actually had no microphones. It was a complete bluff on email, and it just worked out that your team said she's fine. So that was
okay.
There were not going to be any microphones.
Sound like you have a fancy podcast.
Correct. Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fake it till you make it.
Okay.
Another thing that Mike can obviously relate to is winning Wimbledon when you're 17.
Poor Mike.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I regrettably chose to do a show with Andy Roddick.
But okay, so walk us through. This is just not normal. And going in, you had played well going into the event. You had played well in Roland Garros going in. We kind of know, but it's probably as much of an arrival as we had seen since maybe Boris Becker in '85 when he comes out of nowhere and wins it at 17 years old. But like your life 2 weeks before Wimbledon versus your life 2 months after Wimbledon at that age, did you feel it just flip, or were you so kind of hyper focused, or do both exist? Can two things be true?
In full transparency, it wasn't that I woke up, before Wimbledon and I came out of nowhere and I, trained in some, middle of nowhere. Like I'd been working toward that moment for many years. And also I think I was top 16 seed because I remember actually I was using a locker room. And then Lindsay Davenport saw me and she's like, you can use the members locker room. And I was like, what the hell is a members locker room? And she's like, oh yeah, it's downstairs. It's like the fancier version of a locker room. And once I went there, I was like, there is no effing way I'm going back to the other locker room.
But there's a big difference between being seated in winning Wimbledon, I would assume.
Yeah.
Right? Like those are not to say it was an overnight success, because
No.
those pretty much don't exist.
There's two things that helped me, and like the 5-6 weeks prior to that. One was getting my first quarterfinal at the French Open. And I mean, it was a big deal. It was my second week at a major. I consider quarters as a second week, not fourth round. So it was like my first, time into like, okay, this is like getting very real. Then I went in and I went straight to Birmingham. I mean, I don't remember even taking a day off, but I went straight to Birmingham, and that's not an easy hotel room or, town to be like joyful in when it's, you've just come from Paris and it's, nonstop raining. And I remember watching the French Open final in my hotel room in Birmingham. And I just said, like, this is where I belong. I remember I didn't say it to anyone except, this like inner voice is like, this is where I belong. And I don't know where it came from. It must have been because I just made it to the second week, and that feeling, I felt really good. And I went to Birmingham. I played singles. I played doubles, which was probably one of the last few times I played doubles, thankfully. And I won both titles. And like my game suited the grass 20 years ago much more than it suited it, 5 or 10 years ago. The ball was very low. It was a 2-3 balls, the rally's over. My serve at that age was precise. It wasn't the fastest serve, but it was consistent. I had a good second serve. So I think all those matches, winning a lot of matches on grass is really the best preparation you can have. And it gave me so much confidence, that combo of a Grand Slam quarterfinal, 12 matches that I played between singles and doubles. And so that's why when I look back, and of course it looks like it's out of nowhere, but I do think that those things really shape that trajectory.
Totally. And then, but you wake up a month later. I mean, does it land when you're that age, or is it just like on to the next thing?
It's hard. It's really hard to grasp when you're that young. And I actually, I think it really helped me because I didn't realize like the magnitude of that achievement. I didn't understand like how naive I was about everything, how simple I was about acknowledging that I'm a Wimbledon champion. I mean, I basically washed my hair and just combed it before I went to the Wimbledon ball. I mean, now I'd be like, where the heck is this, glam team? Like, where are the 10 people that are going to make me look great? There's just a real, like, simple approach to winning. And I mean, that morning after, where my father had been partying with his friends the entire night and came up. We were in a bed and breakfast with a family they had 3 children, and we were in the top unit of this home in the Wimbledon Village. And I mean, I went back to my room after the Wimbledon ball, and then my father came up with all these newspapers at 5 a.m. and he just threw them on the ground, and he's like, "We did it!" And that moment that was everything. That put my entire, all the work, all the sacrifice, all the sweat and the tears and the laughs, and it's like, that's, my dad just had this fun night, and he comes home and his daughter is on the cover of all these papers, and it's this proud moment that you're like, okay, this is why I put in the work. And then from there, I remember I flew to New York and we did a little press. We got on the plane with Max. And I think we had an economy plus premium economy ticket, and we got on, and everyone started clapping on the plane. And
it's so cool.
And the stewardess, she comes over and we're like, "We upgraded you to business." And so Max and I, we shimmy down to business class. And then, so we're on this flight to New York, and like 4 hours into it, I look over to Max, and he's got his sleep mask on with his seat all the way reclined. And he like comes up because they're saying we're about to land. And he's like, "Are you the Wimbledon champion?"
Max
Like
Max
that
Max
moment.
liked his new life.
So, like when I think of that victory and you know, when you say like, do you realize what you achieved? Like that's what comes to mind. You know, and it's still to this day, it's what I think about. I don't, you know, although I got there was such great strong momentum brand wise and I mean, we did some of the best deals at that time of my career. I mean, it was all very strategic, but they were some of the strongest long-standing partnerships I had, and they all started in that moment. So that moment was very pivotal. But again, I mean, you have to back that up, and it took me time. You know, I went into played a warm-up tournament before the U.S. Open. I think I lost first round. I went to the U.S. Open, won a few matches. So it was like, but that wasn't because I started doing shoots. It was because I didn't know. I thought I should be winning everything. And then the reality is like, well, actually, no, you don't.
Yeah, and then and then expectation, I think, is even a tougher animal, right? Like you go into a tournament thinking you can win, but when you're expected to win, I think that's a whole nother. I always say I think expectation is the hardest thing in sports, right? Like you can beat Earth except for one person, you know, in a given month, and then your expectations are recalibrated to where that's failure, like at some place.
But I mean, then what else do you play for? I kind of like that's the joy of playing. Like if someone expects you to do well, it's because you deserve to get in that position. You know, when you're walking through a Grand Slam tunnel and you need to tell the supervisor that, wait, I need a minute because I need to go to the bathroom and take a poop. Like that, like that's a great feeling because it means there's something on the line.
Well, the other thing that happens is when you say something like that, Mike immediately knows what he's going to clip for the show. So,
hey, listen, whatever sells.
This is funny.
I mean,
so then.
I mean, we are selling, right?
Yeah, always.
Yeah, always.
You get
I
to
mean,
number one.
I see your cans and your hat. I mean, I'm no dummy.
What, this can?
Yeah,
Olipop,
no.
that one?
Yeah, I see it.
No, we're not selling.
It's not because you're
What do you
just
mean?
like.
I don't know what you mean. I
Just
just
because
like.
you wanted to put it on the corner of your table.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you've been jaded by your own success and endorsements. I just love Olipop.
See how I tee you up?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep,
Appreciate
I should
it.
get a
We
percentage.
have plenty of room for Cleo here on my shelf. If you want
Oh,
Cleo.
yeah,
It's
get a
bunch in
little
your fridge.
snack,
Yeah, exactly.
little Cleo snack.
There's a story there. I'll get to it when we get to your business accomplishments in a bit. You continue to dominate. You get to number one in the world, win the U.S. Open. I think the best that I've ever seen you play, and correct me and tell me why I'm wrong, was the '08 Australian Open. I think you were the most complete version of yourself while you were completely healthy. Before kind of your shoulder started having opinions about what you had to do and adjust. Am I wrong, or what do you think? If you had to say, peak Maria was this moment in time, was that it?
I really wanted to say you're wrong, but you're right. It was, I mean, when the draw came out and I saw Lindsay Davenport in the second round of that draw, I told Max, I was like, I'm not doing any sponsor visit. I'm not doing, I didn't even care who I was playing in the first round. I was like, my focus and my energy was preparing for Lindsay Davenport because I think Lindsay was struggling with a few injuries and was coming back, was unseeded. And so when I saw her in that section of the draw in Australia, one of her, better courts, I was like, that's what I need to be focused on. I remember I was we're staying at the Crown at the time in Australia, in Melbourne, and I went to the ones after the draw came out. I went straight to the gym and I got on the bike, and I was like, because there's this like, why am I drawing Lindsay Davenport in the second round? Like I needed to get that energy out. Like that was my first intention, and then for the next 3-4 days, I focused on serving and returning. And it's interesting how your mind. Something like I was never shy of looking at the draw, but it is really interesting how your mind shapes, the path of which you take. Like the way that I got myself ready for that match mentally and physically. And you see it with how I played and just how zoned in I was in my returns and my serve. It's all because once I saw her name, I was like, this is going to determine who's going to win that match.
So you don't think that you have that level if you don't draw Lindsay Davenport second round of that tournament?
Probably not. No, because you probably don't need it. You know, you don't need to draw that level unless it is her, because it doesn't matter if you're playing her in the second round or the quarters or the finals. I mean, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get pace. You're going to get depth. You're going to get speed. And if you break her, well, fucking bingo.
Well, it's also someone who can send back what you're given at the same pace. Like you all, both ball strikers, able to create an amazing amount of
and it's
power
fluid.
pace through the court. Yeah.
My
totally.
dad, I mean, one of the reasons I went to see Robert Lansdorp was because of how smooth Lindsay's strokes were, how, her, mechanism was just like you could really see that if she'd close her eyes, she'd make the same ball in the same spot in the same corner over and over again. And that was the greatest gift that Robert Lansdorp gave me.
Do you now? This is a side tangent here, but when you go to Lansdorp, is it because you see Lindsay? Are you interested in that relationship because, Lindsay has similar weapons as you do, and she's navigated over time. She's had this career that, finished number one multiple times, has won 40-something titles. The longevity, is it a stylistic thing that made you curious about Lansdorp because you saw some of your game inside of Lindsay's as well?
I think it was because we had a similar style. We were both tall. We weren't the best movers, I especially wasn't at the beginning of my career. I worked freaking hard at it, especially on clay. And really it was the genius of Robert making you feel like after, doing an hour's work of hitting out of the basket, you could literally close your eyes and no matter who you were playing, you would hit the ball in the same spot on the strings every single time with your eyes closed. And that is such a confident, fluid feeling. That's where I trained, my backhand down the line, my favorite shot. And to have that confidence to do it when, you're down a break point in the third set, that's all repetition. They always say like, oh, is it true that it takes, however many times to get the feeling? And it is true. It is absolutely true.
So if that's peak, then you bring in and you start dealing with kind of wear and tear of a lifetime of tearing your body apart. While that might be the peak, right, as with my own eyeballs and the best you've ever played, I don't think it's even close to the most impressive thing that you accomplished, at least from where I sit. Like I remember us when we were young, we would basically like make fun of ourselves on clay, right? It's like, we're good on these surfaces.
You skipped the clay. You didn't even talk about it. You just said, I'll see you at Wimbledon.
Great. So I was there sometimes. It was just not for long. To be fair, I did participate.
You did tell me where to go eat, but that was probably,
yeah.
I'm not going to go there, but yeah.
Yeah. And your team liked me after that. We're fine. Like there's no fine. Losers there. Yeah. Everyone was happy except for you with that.
But except
you
don't get trophies for that. But.
That is true. That cuts deeper than you know. But what I want,
come on, you have thick skin.
I do. This is a weird transition into complimenting you after I was just cut so hard. But
you're going to take the leap.
I'm going to do it. So, and this is, again, I'm going to take another shot here, but your shoulder was a problem from maybe there on out. And at some points it was, you couldn't play at all. At some points you still won majors, which I want to get to and pick your brain about how on earth you took, this skill set in this base and then won Roland Garros twice. It's fucking amazing. But your serve, you said when you were young, was fluid. You could hit your spots. You had, motion on it both ways. The second serve was solid. From where I sit, and like serving is the one thing that I can actually like speak to with some confidence. Your arm angle was over the top when you were young. Post 08, it was flying around the side. You were trying to find it. 100% that's because of an adjustment you have to make physically, I think. You don't speak about it. You would just say, okay, yeah, I'm double faulting, or my serve isn't on, or whatever else. How much did you have to adjust even just your arm angle and kind of your swing path because of your shoulder? Because for me, it seems incredibly obvious that that was an adjustment made.
Well, I think a couple of things happened. I was misdiagnosed with my shoulder injury for quite some time. And I think that time frame of the misdiagnosis, where I knew I was telling everyone and every doctor on earth that there's something wrong, you know, in my shoulder, that I have this pain, and no one could quite point it out. It was like, oh, you have tendonitis and just overuse, and you have very flexible shoulders and joints. And it wasn't until like several months of just beating myself up mentally that I know there's a problem. That, David Elchek found this flap in my tendon, and in a contrast MRI, after doing like several of them where no one could figure it out, that this little tiny flap was getting caught in this one position when I would, on strike point. So for 3 months, I'm serving and I'm getting this like nauseating pain. And that, I think, that for sure affected my confidence, my speed, my, even my recovery, because all I could think about was that once I was getting up there and my shoulder was, right next to my ear, that I'm going to feel the sharp pain go through my body. And that definitely, you know it, you've faced, several injuries in your career, and you know that the mental aspect of getting back to being confident, of going up to the line and trusting a new shoulder, trusting a new body part, or especially after an operation, is even more significant than the operation itself. And no matter who is on your team, no matter what specialists you have, it just takes you. You're the only one that can get it right mentally, right? Because it's you that has to trust the process and trust this feeling. And it comes with reps. It comes with, being in a really tight moment and figuring it out and delivering. And listen, my serve was never the same after that surgery, but I got to play tennis again, and I did it. And, I had another operation. So it was definitely, it took a great toll on my game, but that it didn't stop me from competing at 11, but at a certain level, but it definitely took the level of serving that I had, when you go back to Australian Open, that you just referred to, that was some of the best serving I had in my career. I was precise. I hit the lines. I was consistent. My second serve speed. I took chances on it, but I was, it was maybe I made more errors than other players, but because my speed was higher, I was okay with that. I was still putting pressure on it. But yeah, there's no easy answer.
Yeah. I just don't think, because I had something in, like, basically my shoulder was an impingement. It didn't affect my serve as much, but I couldn't hit a forehand flat anymore. But it does you no good to advertise it to anyone, because, right, the scouting report might take a year to change, right, by virtue. So it doesn't, what are you selling by talking about it? So, but I don't know that. And
then you have many specialists coming and you're like, oh, I can fix your motion. It's like, can you?
Yeah, it's a complete reconstruction that you kind of have to do and pretend like everything's okay.
Yeah, it's a feeling, and you have to, and you have to fail in front of thousands of people, because you don't know until you go out and you play a match in front of thousands of people. You could train till you're blue in the face, and you can make adjustments till, you think you've got it down. That's what's so impressive with, so many players on the tour now, that where you see they're making adjustments mid-season, and not enough, I think not enough is said about that.
I want to get to your Roland Garros titles, just because we've touched on the difficulties with shoulder and taking away one of your weapons. And so if we take the stock game of your ability to compete, your intensity, you serve well, you return great, you can hit it through the court, you can take the racket out of someone's hand, None of those are made better by the surface on which you won Roland Garros. Not a single thing about your game was instantly better the moment you got onto clay, in my opinion. And you touched on it 5 minutes ago. Your movement and how much time I imagine you had to spend, because you were a non-slider like I was, right? To where like you kind of had that little jump step, and then
Are you putting us in the same bucket?
No, this is just shut up. So listen.
Okay, we're 30 minutes into it, and he's told me to shut up. Okay, yeah. I'll take it.
No, I'll claim
it could have come sooner.
I'll claim forever that it was Mike in my ear. I was telling him to shut up. But let's say that you improve your movement 3 or 4%, right? It's not something that Joe Schmo is going to see when they watch you. It's not something that in a first round you might need, but that is the difference. Is that the difference? Is that what made you into a Roland Garros champion on top of the other things and the other strengths that are well documented? Because I love the fact that you can talk about someone's weaknesses, what they don't do well ad nauseum, and they still might be the thing that gets someone over the hump on the biggest stages in sports.
I recognized early on that it was going to be a challenging surface for me, and my father did as well. I mean, as someone that's watched me grow up on all different surfaces, his one thing that he would tell me before matches is, this game is cat and mouse. And I always think of that phrase as it relates to clay, because on clay you can have a powerful game, but you have to be, in order to be a champion on clay, you have to be smart about your game, about what you have. And my game was power. So I had to find a way to incorporate my strength, which was my power, and improve the aspects of my game that weren't A+. And movement was one of them. And what was interesting is that I started working on sliding. And I was sliding much better to my left foot than I was on my right, because I'm naturally left-handed. And in a way that became an advantage, because it gave me the opportunity. I mean, my backhand was, I'd say, my best shot, if I'm being honest. And it gave me more reach, right? And if you're a righty, most of the time, you're sliding better to your forehand than you are to your backhand. And I was very much the other way around. So if you watch clips of the many matches that I played on clay, my sliding and my backhand became, great. Like if I can give myself a sliding compliment. But it wasn't so good to my forehand, but it didn't have to be, because I had a one-handed forehand. So I felt like I had more reach. And with time I also recognized that I don't need to change my game to be a French Open champion. I just need to adjust it to the clay court, but use power. I can't let go of my power. I mean, that's my A game.
What are those adjustments, though? You say adjust. Like, what does that adjustment look like in real time?
I mean, you don't have to use power to the lines, right? Because it doesn't matter if you hit the line or you hit a few feet inside the line. It's going to be just as effective. Knowing and just being aware that what's most of the time a winner on hard court or grass is no longer going to be a winner. So instead of, being ready to go to the net, maybe just move forward a few steps and be ready to hit another shot and then move forward, then go to the net. So it's just preparing yourself to be out there for 3 hours if you have to be. And I know that sounds like it's quite simple, like, oh yeah, just, wait for another shot. But that it's a very intricate balance between hitting and shot. And when your A game is depth and power and doing it consistently, it's this very intricate movement of knowing when to move forward to finish the point. And recognizing that on clay was a huge key for me. Not rushing to go, to move forward and hit a swing volley. I don't even want to say I hit volleys, but I hit a lot of swing volleys. That was my volley.
Yeah, well, I mean, it should have been. If I could hit it as cleanly as you, that would have fixed a lot of problems.
I love the swing volley.
Yeah, no, I mean, and you
That's
did
my
it
favorite
well.
shot. One of my favorite shots.
But I think the last two Grand Slams that you win being Roland Garros titles is like weirdly poetic for the way that you went about your process, learnings, intensity, never shying away from the battle. Listen, we've all taken it on the chin. You know, you sometimes get, worked out of the room, laughed out of the room, get beat on, a bad day. But I think what defines a lot of players, and especially people that are able to stay at the top for a long time, is like the next Tuesday, you're up off the mat going back to work. I think those Roland Garros titles really define the way that we remember you as a competitor. I think it's fitting that those were it's something that I probably never saw coming, but is like endlessly impressive.
I also, I mean, there's definitely a schedule shift, and I started playing a few more tournaments like leading up to the French Open, which I think really, I'd never played, the Porsche Stuttgart Grand Prix until I think the year that I won the French Open, and I know it's, we talk about confidence, but going into that event and winning 5 matches in a small draw with high level players that want to win, that want to drive down the ramp in their new Porsche, gave me a lot of confidence. It gave me 5 extra matches. It was indoors, so it was controlled, right? That you didn't have to think of variables. You could just focus on your movement and your game and your opponent. And then I went into, Rome and Madrid, and then you had to make adjustments. I mean, Madrid and Rome were like two completely different events, between the way the court plays, the crowd, the energy, just the size of the court. I mean, everything, altitude, the wind, it just, everything about those two events are like, I mean, they could be at different times of the year. And going into the French Open, you start feeling like, okay, I faced every circumstance, every opponent, every wind barrier. I'm like, if I'm not ready now, then I'm never ready.
Battle tested. So this would be the point in the show where we
leave.
Well, you're not that lucky yet.
Okay.
But you're
checking
for free will. You can leave anytime, but we'd prefer if you stayed to talk about your second career. This is where it would most of the time end, and we would get to the Hall of Fame and all of the feelings that
I haven't talked this much in a long time, by the way.
I just a little longer, just a touch longer.
I mean, fine. I don't have nothing to do, Andy. Nothing.
So I'm sure. So you were hyper aware of brand. You've mentioned business in a kind of, it's a normal conversation because it's ingrained in your life now, and it's kind of what you've become, who you are, and you've had as successful a second career that's not directly attached to your former life in a lot of the cases as anyone, right? So like while the rest of us are trying to get a deal with Bubblegum Shrimp Company, your Land Rover and Motorola and Tag Heuer and Tiffany.
Bubblegum Shrimp Company?
Not something that you're ever going to have to worry about. Yeah.
Well, now I'm intrigued.
You wouldn't be. You mentioned all of these things. At what point did it go from a curiosity to where I realized that I add value to these things to where I actually want to take ownership over these things? And did you pick and choose your spots, or was it more just, hey, Nike has a relationship with Cole Haan, I think I could design something? At what point did curiosity turn into action?
Well, I have to go way back. Look, I think it all started with knowing that as a woman, you have so many years, right? If this is your profession, if you're a professional athlete in tennis, individual sport, that there are only so many years, whether you'll be 30, whether you'll be 25, whether you'll be 35, the time will come. And unlike, other industries and other jobs, you could be working there till, 60. But I was always very well aware that it would end one day. I didn't know when, I didn't know how, but I was always in the mindset that I want to have the strongest foundation to build something, to build another chapter, another gear, another life after being an athlete. And there's nothing, I mean, the transition, which we can also go into, because I think that's been a really fascinating world to navigate, is transitioning from being, an athlete performing in front of thousands of people to, clapping, when your husband changes a diaper. Like that.
Good job.
Or you're like the only one in the audience.
We did it. You did it. You did it.
That transition is huge. So we can get into that later. But business-wise, Max and I spoke about this at length all the time. Most of the time is everything that we do is setting myself up for the future.
Are these conversations happening when you're 20? Or is it when you're 23, 24, 20 immediately?
No, when you're making money, when you start making your first paychecks. And listen, it's a very fine line, because you hear stories of when you make your first money, there's a lot of people that want your money, right? There's a lot of people just want a piece of it. They want a new car, and they want an upgrade to their apartment, and they want to go to, their local sushi bar was good, and all of a sudden they want Nobu, and
Nobu is
it's
great.
like, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Are they paying you too?
No, not yet.
Okay. Just checking.
Working on it.
Just in free meals. I'll take that.
It. Done. Signed.
I'll take that.
They might have just got a twofer. We're in.
I'll take the free crispy rice. I don't even need the tuna.
I want tuna.
And the fatty tuna. So it was always in the back of my mind. And any deal that I did, it was strategic in how we thought about the future of deal making. Is this going to be a partner and a family and a founder that's going to see my transition from being an athlete to a businesswoman to a mother to an entrepreneur? I mean, it's hard to gauge, and I'll be honest, but that was my goal. That was my selfish goal, was to make sure that I built a really strong foundations with these partners, so that they, when I could call the founder myself, or call the CEO myself and say, hey, I know I was supposed to be at this event in a week, and you have, 30 of your VIPs coming, but I decided to add another tournament in my schedule, and I won't be able to make it. Like, I wanted to have that type of relationship with people, that I could be honest and real, and it only served them better if I was winning tournaments. It'd only make me look better, it'd make them look better, it'd make our partnership better. And so that was a real key in how, and nothing was done just because, Max received an offer in the mail that you couldn't turn down. It was never, everything had a place and a time for it. And I think more than anyone knows, and continues till this day, now I'm fortunate that I'm sure you can relate, but you kind of have the choice to do something or not to do it, and if I'm going to leave my baby, he's not a baby anymore, but if I'm going to leave my home and my family, it better be worth it. I better be so excited about where I'm going and who I'm working with and what I'm building. And that's so much more important than, and I realize how unique that position is, at 38 years old. I recognize it, and I'm so grateful for it, but I'm also a workaholic. I don't know any other way. Like, that's, I've been ambitious since I was a very young girl. And I love the fact that at the end of the tournament, you go and collect a check and how you did. Like,
oh gosh, yeah.
This was a crap week.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
It's the best thing about tennis. Doesn't lie to you. Tennis does not lie to you. The feedback is true. Yeah. I
love that. Like, so now when I go, I love the idea of I'm working for something at the end. Like, that's always been my mindset, and it's kind of like, that's how I think of it today.
Walk me through, because tennis is and you were lucky because you had a great team of people around you. Your father was a responsible human with you when you were young. Max was on board early. There was not a lot of, at least on the business and the personal side, it seemed like it was pretty solid. right away. But do you have any sort of empathy, or do you ever feel the need, like a knee jerk, when you see young athletes hit, could be any sport, and then all of a sudden they're taking like these sugar high deals, right? These deals, is it something that you can recognize and say, gosh, just like
calm down,
take a beat. Yeah. I think it's rare for someone to build something for the next 30 years and not for the next 3 months.
It is. I mean, I equally understand their position. I think when you are, like best case scenario, you're a young athlete and you win a Grand Slam in your sport, whether it's tennis or something else. And I mean, based on my own experience, you are pretty much guaranteed that for the next 2-3 years, you're not making less than $1 million on any deal, right? And say it's a 3-year deal. By the second year, if at the end of that second year, you are not consistent with your results and you are not, going deep into second weeks, guess what? You are going from millions of dollars in your bank account every day. And I say that because it's the reality. It's the reality of the sport. If you win a Grand Slam for the next 2-3 years, you are covered. But at the end of that second year, every brand has their eyes on you and they're watching and they're following your ranking, they're following your results, they're following how you're doing. And every player knows that, so there's a part of me that emphasizes with, I'm just going to Pac-Man the shit out of every deal and I have a little piggy bank, and who knows what will happen in 3 years? Am I going to get injured? Am I never going to play at the same level? Am I going to find another interest?
Am I going to win Roland Garros twice?
I mean, you never know. So, it's a very fine balance between, taking advantage, which you absolutely should, of a big moment in your career, right? Where you sacrificed and you've invested so much of your time and your money and your family's money and God knows who else's money. And to finally see that, carrot and reward is significant. But you also have to understand that in 2 years' time, if your results are not consistent, then no one's re-signing you.
Well,
it sounds brutal, but
no, it's the absolute truth, and that's like ripping the Band-Aid off. Like, it's what have you done for me lately type world. Something that I'm super curious about, because on top of being an endorser, I think there's a very different, you obviously you've proven your skill set. And I think that's a lot what you're talking about now. Like, to be effective as someone who's a partner to sell products for a brand, you have to keep winning, right? Mm-hmm. Your investment side.
I mean, do you agree with that?
Totally. I completely 100%. And it's not only, you're not only like an endorser that has, tops these Forbes lists for, whatever, forever, for earners. There's a whole nother side where that wasn't kind of enough. I mean, you've invested in monsters: UFC, Therabody, Tonal, MoonPay, Clio Snacks, which Mike was very excited about. Big snack guy.
Oh, we have to send you some. We have to send you some snacks.
Oh, shameless! He'll do it. He'll do it. No problem.
I want you to put a little Clio box just on one of those shelves.
Oof. Done.
Just just a little, seated in there.
I don't think that I've ever seen Mike lay down on a negotiation that quickly. God, are you kidding me with that shit,
I will
Mike?
bombard you with product. I'm going to send you some Bala Bengals. I'm going to send you some Tash pistachio milk. I mean, you are just going to listen.
I have no
idea.
You're
not going to be hungry. You're going to be fit.
I have no idea why brands keep working with her. None at all. But just. And then you're on the board for Montclair, which is a company that's worth billions of dollars. Supergoop, you were some of the early money in. They have an $800 million exit or something insane like that. What is your superpower as an investor? Not an endorser, because that's largely based of what was, right? And you're proven and you're responsible, and you can sell Mike Scooby Snacks in 12 seconds. But what is your superpower as an investor, as a board member? What is your biggest value add?
My biggest value add is that I am most of the time their consumer, and I have a pretty good grip and understanding of why I use it, consume it, why it's incorporated into my life, and that's a proof of its quality, but also are my friends using it? Is my mom liking it? Is my kid using it? Is my kid eating it? Most of the time, I am a consumer of the product that I invest in, and that was a great example. I mean, Supergoop was my first investment in the CPG space, and it proved to be very successful. And no deal has been that big, but it was a testament to, and this word gets used a lot, but authenticity to product and the person that's using it and how they're adapting it to their life. It was a no-brainer. But I had to get to I had to get to a comfortable point financially where I said, listen, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well, as I'm ready to let go of, $100,000 or a few $100,000 because I truly believe in it. And hey, if I can be a value add to this product brand, to this founder, and in 5-10 years, I get my money back and more, hopefully times 20, just hint, hint, then I'm doing, then I did well. So that's always been my approach. I think of investment as long term. I don't see it as no investment in the last 5-10 years has been made to get money back in 1 or 2 years. I take a lot of time and due diligence. I also just I love. A founder story is always so fascinating, no matter what they've built or grown. And I'm always inspired by their trajectory because everyone's is very different and everyone has similar but slightly different problems. And look, and what else? I feel like I have a good grasp of quality. Like, I'm just in my everyday life, I am someone that I don't like to buy and consume a lot of things. And the things that I do live with, I think I hope that they are well made, are good for climate, are things that I want my family to eat. And I'm very well aware of design and how it plays into your life and how aesthetically it makes your life better. So, and quality's always been really important. From every dress that I've worn that Nike has designed, every stitch that was sewn, it wasn't about being loud. It was like when I put on a dress, like I wanted it to feel good on my skin and my body. Like when I went on court, I wanted to feel like it was like second skin. That was always the memo. Like, it's just like it was meant to be made for me. Right. It wasn't meant to be noticed from afar because it had a bold pattern or it had something, a very larger shape. My memo was like, I want it to be elegant. I want it to be beautifully made. And I want this piece to live with me for 20 years. And when I think of investing, it's kind of how I think of product. Like, I want this, whatever it is. Is it the way that I work out? Is it this Amara baby snack that my kid is eating, right now, that I'm about to get on a plane and I put a bag, of it in my suitcase for me? Like, that's how I think of investment.
And it's been fun to watch your kind of progression and kind of read all of the things. I think one of the base factors in a lot of people and kind of building, one is what you're saying, like everything that you've said, whether it's, arriving in the States at 7, whether it's endorsing certain products, whether it's investing in certain things, it doesn't feel like you ever are on a get rich quick scheme or like you're going to like skip a step in something, which I think is a great lesson for, not even tennis listeners, but just people in general.
I've always thought that if you put your mind and your effort into, being, a good human being and doing quality work, and it doesn't have to be in front of thousands of people, but just, that you go to sleep and you think, okay, I'm really proud of the effort. I had, 2 hours with my son after a day's work, and I was present with him, and I was off my phone, and I taught him how to throw, and we looked at the snails, and he learned something. Like, I go to sleep and I'm like, okay, like, little by little, I know those are just development skills, but the way I think of it is like, you add all those little skills and you hope that in years time you get an incredible human being. And it's the way that I try to approach motherhood, and believe me, it's not smooth every day, and it's the same in business. If I go into a meeting and there are things about the business or the manufacturer that's just unfamiliar to me, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm the first one.
Do you think a lot of that stuff and your kind of attention to process, do you think that was created because you were a tennis player? Like, is that a super strength where it's like, that you have to work for a year on footwork, and all of a sudden you're going to track down that one ball at 4-all, and that's where it matters? Do you think it just feels like a lot of the parallels that you're talking about with your business is instincts that have been created from, the age 100%. Of whatever, and you've created this like superpower mechanism of discipline, basically, because everything. 100%. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also, like, the decision not to choose the easy way, like, to be mindful that the easy way is not always the best way. Like, that's
hard to do.
It's really hard to do.
That's hard to do.
It's really hard to do. And I especially, like, now when we really have as retired athletes, when we really have the choice, like, when I work out now, I mean, like, on the last set, I'm like, oh, I'll just do 8 instead of 10. And then there's this little voice in me that's like, finish it. Finish it.
See, my little voice comes in when I'm at about 5 going to 10, and I'm like, just get to 6.
Well, no, I get to 8. I get to 8, and I think, you know what? I'm going to write an entire chapter about this in whatever book I write, because this is so real. I get to 8, and I'm like, wait, turn the music on. Where's my distraction? Oh, maybe I should, look at my phone. Do I really need that extra? Is it really going to show?
I get to 8, and I decide to call Mike about snacks instead. That's what I do. So
I mean, everyone has a different path, Andy.
Obviously, the timing of you coming on and being so gracious with your time is not coincidentally.
I mean, a little too gracious, I see.
Okay, we'll wrap it up real quick. I can take a hint.
Listen, no, that wasn't a hint. Just maybe
it wasn't a hint. It was blunt force trauma. But I do want to get your thoughts, because as much success as you've had in a bunch of different careers, there is something about spending a lifetime at a craft, right? And then to be honored and voted on by a group that's largely your peers, right? Other Hall of Famers. And it's something that you probably knew was coming, for a long time, but explain the emotions because it's a retrospective thing, right? I went through it a long time ago already, but it's an intimidating prospect to actually look backwards, especially when it's not my nature. I know it's not your nature. And my takeaway was it was a great process for me to think back on all the people that had a say in this day actually happening, right? What are your emotions? How are you kind of processing? It's a place that you knew you were going, but then when present hits, and this is like a culmination, and you're in the final resting place of champions at the Hall of Fame, when you got the call to now, when you know that you have to talk about your career in, try to digest it in 25 or 30 minutes, what has that process been like for you? And what has it meant that you were voted in by your peers?
Look, I'm not someone that generally likes looking back, but I realize that you often have to look back and acknowledge the process and what you've achieved and the people that helped you get there in order to create a stronger, a better future. And that's a fact. I've never been like, when I retired 4.5 or I forget how many years it's been now, but I've really never looked back. I love, I have TV on all the time and I love watching tennis. I love going to events. It's been an entirely like, I felt like, oh my God, I've really missed out on being a spectator of the sport. Like I got a front row seats to seeing some of the best athletes in the world. I mean, I played before the rivalries of, Novak and Roger and Nadal right before me. They would walk off the court and I would get on the court. Like I saw greatness, but I stopped playing and that transition happened so quickly for me. It's like the mindset, my life, how I choose to go about my day. It's never been about looking back. But as with time, I've recognized that you cannot let go of your roots. You cannot forget where you came from. You cannot forget who were the people that helped shape your path and your life and your stories. And it was really funny because I invited all of my team members along the way from like early days till the very last day. And I think there was like a total of 35. I could be butchering the number, but I think it's 35. And I did like a paperless post thing. I think it was one of my first paperless posts that I did. And I wrote like a message and I said, listen, if you've got a spare weekend, would love for you to join. You've been such a meaningful part of my career. And I was like, ChatGPT, can you please let me know what is the conversion rate of RSVPs? And apparently it's like 50%. Okay, so I was like thinking, okay, well, if I invite like 35, I mean, I'm gonna get 20.
No, 20, that's bullshit.
I promise you, I reserved
Maria.
a certain amount of rooms because that's what I thought.
Oh my gosh,
Maria. I'm at 96% conversion rate
Maria.
of the RSVP.
Maria, it's bullshit. Okay, bullshit. I call bullshit. Okay, so we've been talking about how smart you are for fucking hour and a half, right? And you can't ask ChatGPT what the RSVP rate is, and the comp is like Uncle Bob's Chowder Fest, right? Like that's not an accurate.
Chowder Fest would be. I'm in for a Chowder Fest.
No, you're one of the 50%. But obviously, your team is going to want to celebrate you and your path
first of all,
towards the Hall of
everyone
Fame.
has a life now, by the way, and they're all have families and responsibilities, and they don't all live in the U.S. So that was one piece of the puzzle. So I'm trying to find hotel rooms for everyone at this point. So when you ask me like what I'm thinking about, I'm like, so you might have to share rooms like you did back in the day when I didn't have money to get you a separate room. So that is something that I most look forward to, is seeing just familiar faces and people. And I honestly can say I had some of the best human beings on my teams that I have amazing relationship with till this day. I mean, Sven, my former coach, is a godfather to our son. I mean, Ricardo's the last coach I had, were just such an incredible man. I mean, Michael Joyce is going to try to make it. So, a few blasts from the past, but to relive like those memories with them is what I think about. I actually haven't thought too much about the ceremony or the induction. I don't even have a speech yet. And I've never written a speech in my life before. I think this will be the first one, but I'm about 10 days away, so I better get going. What did you do? How did you go about it?
I wrote it the night before. And I was going to say 0% of my focus was going to be on like matches. And for me, it was just, I wanted it to be a big thank you to everyone. And I wanted to basically draw a line from fandom, where you're watching these like giants, to where it somehow slowly becomes normal to be friends with like Agassi. And I got to see Fed and Rafa, and like, so drawing that line where it's like a very crooked line, but it somehow melts into reality, and you kind of have to remind yourself. But that moment will get you. There'll be one moment where like it'll be very clear what you want to do. The only piece of advice that I could possibly give you is you will be overscheduled. They will ask you to do everything clear out time where it's just your people.
Yeah.
At least for 3 hours, right? Where you're trading stories.
To be honest,
said this to me.
Yeah, they've been so the process, but the team behind it has been so amazing and accommodating that I'm like, tell me what to do. I will do it for you because you've gone above and beyond of, catering to everyone that's coming into town. And, everyone has a different agenda but I'm so thrilled. We had a little event in Wimbledon that the Hall of Fame put together. And I think when I received the news on a call, Max called me and then, Kim shared the news with me on a Zoom and it's all like virtual. And I don't, like many things in life today, I don't know if you really feel that depth of connection and like true emotions are felt through these conversations, but seeing like the champions in one room at Wimbledon and knowing that they they contributed to the vote and that they are the reason I was voted onto this platform just is incredible. This is so special.
Well, it's obviously well deserved.
Thank you.
In my
is this
opinion,
goodbye?
We're getting there. Yeah, in my opinion. Is there something else you want to talk about?
Do I just leave at some point, or just how does this just keep just keep going?
No, what you do is you just keep trying to make the ending as awkward as possible for me when I'm trying to get out of the show. Yeah.
So that the listeners think I'm really rude.
No,
you're so good at that, Andy. Just make yourself look good.
They know better. Oh shit! They know better than to know. Listen, anyone who listens to our show, what's the Taylor Swift song? "I'm the Problem, It's Me." They get it. They know where the problems come from on this podcast.
I want to know about your audience. Who is your audience? Is it the? What do you mean? You don't have data into your audience?
Mike.
Anyone and everyone. We don't discriminate.
Yeah. No, that's not the answer. That's not the answer. The answer is, I'll give you an honest answer. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It started off as like 4 people.
I am very intrigued about the podcast space because I have something brewing. So I've more info you give me.
I've heard rumors. Yes,
okay,
I've heard some rumblings.
The more learnings I have, the better.
We'll do a sidebar and we'll run you through all the numbers. I'll tell you this. What I never want to lose on this show, because we started and no one listened and now people listen and the numbers are good and it's been fun. I never want to lose.
I hear they're great.
I never want to lose.
That's why I joined.
I know. We had to work out. To be fair, we actually had to work our way up before we wasted our asks. Honestly, it needed to be some value add, but I never want to get to a point where I actually think people are listening, because I think that takes away a lot of the authenticity that you were talking about earlier. But it's been fun. It's been amazing. It's something that I never thought I would do. I never thought we would have you on to give us an hour plus of your time.
Hour 30. Thank you very much.
Ooh.
But you're probably but you're gonna probably edit it to 45. So
no. This won't be edited. No, we run it straight out. I will. You ready to hit the competitive streak? I mean, Andre did about 2 hours, but that's
okay. I mean, there's only one Andre.
Yeah, that's true. Listen,
I just heard him speak, and I can listen to him speak for like hours.
I could listen to him read the phone book. I know.
Oh, that's a little much. He's great, but not that great.
I mean, he's pretty great.
He's fantastic, my idol, but not phone book great.
I will tell you, I am happy for you as someone who has known you for a long time, has respected you for a long time. Couldn't be happier for your successes on and off the court. I was an easy yes vote, as were pretty much every other player that I talked to for you and the Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
I look forward to being there and celebrating you in person, giving you a hug, saying congratulations. Can't wait for it. It's going to be the best. Take it in, do all the things.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining our dumb little podcast today.
I loved it. I love what you're doing. I love your perspective. It's very much needed. It's refreshing. I like the fact that you're coming in from a place of experience. You know more than anyone what it takes. You're ambitious, but you're real. And I think that voice carries through this podcast. So congrats.
Well, I appreciate you, and I thank your man Max Eisenbud because he gave us some of the early content before we could get to the Maria Sharapovas of the world. All the best to the family.
Thank you, Mike.
Hopefully, we'll meet Theo in Newport.
Maybe we're.
He needs to see his mom join the Hall of Fame. Okay, go. Okay. You're busy. You got all this stuff. Thanks, Maria.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, bye.
Bye, guys.
Well, holy shit, Mike. That was
she's awesome.
That was a lot of info, a lot of details. I told you before we went on, she'll give me more shit than any guest we've had so far.
She did.
That's correct.
And finally, somebody had the gall.
I'll tell you a couple of my takeaways, and then I want to ask you, like I always do for some of yours, the ability to never kind of shortchange a decision and kind of defer to the sugar high. I think whether it's tennis, whether it's business, whether it's interpersonal relationships, I think that is maybe the biggest lesson that doesn't just apply to tennis and that's not easy to do when you're that young, have that much access, that much money, that much control over many things. I don't know. I don't know how that's taught, but it's something she certainly got from a very young age.
Yeah, I think when she talked about, the needing to win to be of value to the brands that we just see the brand deals, but the fact that she is like, I need to put in the work to win because I'm of no value to anyone, in these spaces if I don't. But then even just the thought process of, what's coming 2 years down the line? How am I thinking about this deal at 20 years old to be 10 years from now? I think is also lost on a lot of us, simple fans that look at young athletes, who are out there putting in the work, and then they get these brand deals, and it's few and far between that can achieve what you guys achieve on the court. It's few and further between those achievers that do what she's done off the court. And it comes from that simple mindset, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm always amazed by one, that the baseline of success is curiosity, like people who are just always kind of trying the next thing and the next thing. And like, we just keep pushing. And she does that every single day, whether it's tennis, whether it's not tennis, but also she's kind of real about it, right? It's not like she's selling you a story, right? It's like, oh God, some days as a mom, it's like, it's hard,
yeah.
But you just get on with it. I don't know. It's like she does this dance between like her commercial reputation when she was playing is like this glamour figure, and the Nike ads with the "I'm so pretty, oh so pretty," but then behind the scenes it's like she'll crush footwork drills for 4 hours, and like that's you awesome. Could see she understands that's the heartbeat of the entire ecosystem, and not the other way around, right? She's this tennis player that can do these things, not a famous person who plays tennis, and I think that's lost on a lot of people a lot of the time, and I think she's a great model for that. Any other parting thoughts, Mike? Anything else we got to get to?
No, I'm just really excited to have the opportunity to see her speech and the Bryan Brothers speech in person at the Hall of Fame. A reminder, we'll be doing a lead-in show for that just right before them, right from the same stage they'll be inducted in on the 23rd. Before that, we'll be at the Fan Week at the U.S. Open doing our live draw show. So we got a lot going on coming up, Andy.
Well, I can't wait. I get nervous for the interviews. One more thing that I just want to put out there, and I probably should have done it sooner. She mentioned David Alchek, who was a surgeon who helped her with her shoulder, helped me with my knee when I was 17 years old, passed away a couple of weeks ago. And he has had a massive impact on many, many players, not just in tennis, but always did it with grace, respect, room full of many, many times over, 17-year-old panicked. I know what my future is, and yet will my knee hold up? The calming hand, I still remember it. Flew from LA to New York City, walked me through the paces, was so gracious. He has an outsized impact on results that people just don't know about. Always did it with humility, always did it with grace, was full of empathy, even though he had done these things, 10 tens and tens of thousands of times, you still felt like he was very interested in your problem and getting to a solution of health. Passed away after a long battle with cancer a couple weeks ago. So, Doc Olczyk, thank you. I know I speak for Maria and many, many other athletes when I say we couldn't have done it without you. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your expertise. Thank you to Maria Sharapova for joining us on Served, and we'll see you next week.